so wonderful to be back here. That's my joy, sharing this time and this Mass and this special music with you all. It's really a blessing, and we give thanks for it. So St. Paul tells us, have no anxiety at all, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God. Then the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. It's a great goal. That's beautiful. Except how do we get there? What is a spirituality in which we can engage ourselves in this process of joy? Well, I have some thoughts for us here this morning. First of all, I think we need to slow down. You need to slow down to get your life in perspective. The busier you are, the more you need to have time for prayer. Things simply are not as bad as they seem at the moment. Too many of us have the attitude of, when in trouble or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. Not very helpful. A girl in college wrote a letter to her parents describing all the terrible things that she was going through. And then at the end, she said, well, really, I flunked chemistry and I just wanted you to get it in perspective. We need to consciously take time every day, 5 minutes for you to pray and be quiet. God has a way of speaking to your heart if you'll just shut up and be attentive to God. What you'll find is the fact that life is pretty good for most of us most of the time. Abe Lincoln said, most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. Haste makes waste, not only in the little things in life, but in the important things too. Too often, we're like the man who jumped on his horse and rode off in all directions. So, if you'd like to say after me. I slow down to get perspective in my life. I slow down to get perspective in my life. Secondly, give thanks. Develop a spirit of thanksgiving in all circumstances. So much anxiety during this time of year. We're buried in shoulda, wouldas, and couldas, and oughtas. Understandable, because anxiety is a powerful motivator. And of course, there is a role for anxiety in life. Who would pay their taxes if the government funded itself through bake sales? It just wouldn't happen. Nothing like getting a letter from the IRS to focus on one's priorities. The thing is that anxiety is not God's motivator, according to St. Paul. He's telling us to dismiss all anxiety from your minds. God's motivation is gratitude. And when one's heart is full of gratitude, one doesn't need anxiety. One is focused. You give power to what you focus on. And if you focus on gratitude, there will be no room for anxiety. One does things because one is absolutely convinced that one's whole life is a gift from God. And everything that I am and have come freely from God's hand. If you'd like to say after me. Develop, I giving thanks, focus on my blessings. I giving thanks, focus on my blessings. Thirdly is gentle, gentle. You know, Christmas is really a tough time for many people. There's a lot of loneliness and alcohol and pressures to make a bad combination for our personal relationships. So we are called I like to say, gentle, gentle. Gentle words, gentle gestures, gentle presence, gentle eyes, high expectations that seldom can be realized. When you're up to your neck in alligators, it's hard to think about draining the swamp. We are called to be conciliators. And as I ponder these Sunday readings, I become aware that I mainly feel guilt. What right do I have in the midst of a world which is filled with so much suffering and pain and injustice to be joyful? So many have so little and suffer so much. Having compassion is not only for the terrible injustices in the world, but having compassion for yourself is very important. You face the problems and tragedies of your life. Being joyful is not a reward for being good, but a byproduct of living a life of humble gratitude and compassion. So for the next thing we have, I embrace gentle compassion of Jesus. I embrace the gentle compassion of Jesus. And the fourth is do it now. You don't want to wait until you're being wheeled into the operating room for a heart transplant. No, we no longer, the longer you wait to practice this message, the harder it is. There was a story of a ship that sunk at sea, and they were lost at sea, and one fellow said, oh God, I've been terrible. I stole from work. I curse all the time. I've done some pretty horrible things. So I promise that and then he heard a companion said, don't go too far. I see a ship. So, no, we need to face our lives squarely now. We too often miss the present because our minds are distracted by the past or the future. Kindness is such an important ingredient to life. Give somebody a hug in your family. Tell them you love them. Do something, even if it isn't quite right. Say nice things. Push the edges. Expect miracles. If you'd like to repeat after me. I am open now to God-given opportunities. I am open now to God-given opportunities. St. Paul says, dismiss all anxiety from your minds. When one is grateful to God, one doesn't really need anxiety. God's motivation is gratitude. One does things because one is absolutely convinced that my whole life is a gift from God with purpose. Everything I have comes freely from the hand of God. So I slow down to get perspective in my life. I give thanks, focusing on my blessings. I embrace gentle compassion of Jesus, and I am open now to God-given opportunities. If we have that, I believe that developing the spirituality of joy will be much happier and stronger and hopeful in life. And I can tell you, I'm joyful for David, who helped with this.